Hello, and welcome to the Shootin' the Shift podcast with your hosts, Darren Good and
Nicholas Good. We are the Good Brothers.
Today we got a bunch of great topics for you, from Cadillac's leap into the luxury EV market and the Subaru Wildernesses, as well as
A tale of two Toyotas and the end of an era.
all that and more coming up on the Shootin' the Shift podcast.
Our second and hopefully not our last.
So, the new Cadillac Celestiq. How do we feel about this? Because
I feel like I have been pronouncing it wrong the whole time.
yeah, everybody I've talked to about this thing says that they pronounce it Celestiq, because that's kind of what makes sense in your head.
It sounds high class. It sounds like if I had a wine glass, I would be holding it with my pinky.
Exactly. So, the Celestiq, they actually have the pronunciation of it on their website now, because people have been saying it wrong repeatedly.
Okay, you know what? That's one way to get it across.
If you don't know what the Celestiq is, it is Cadillac's foray into the hyper luxury scene. Think like Rolls-Royce, Bentley, like really high-end stuff, essentially.
Let's say not necessarily foray as return to. Because
yes.
Because Cadillac used to do this stuff all the time. As a matter of fact, I have a wonderful picture of the Detroit Concours where I got to see a V16 Cadillac, an Eldorado Brougham, and the Celestiq.
I really wish I had time to go.
It was a cool trip, but
I'm so jealous.
But yeah,
Especially the Viper.
All of those cars, yeah, that was awesome. All of those cars have a real presence to them.
They do. And the Celestiq is none. The Celestiq has that same presence that it used to back in the day. Because, like, early mid-2000s, Cadillac got, frumpy. Cadillac STS comes to mind.
All of the HTV8 era Cadillacs.
I like the North Star. I am a supporter of the North Star. But I know a lot of people aren't, and everybody's main argument for the North Star being garbage is the starter's under the intake.
But it's nowhere near the Celestiq.
A starter, because it is all electric. So they're projecting 600 odd horsepower and 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds.
That's less than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But that's really fast for that amount of power.
It is. So I'm curious what it's going to weigh. Nobody actually has any information on what it's going to weigh yet.
It's freaking huge.
It is a big car. And the proportions of it, this might be a hot take, but I don't like the Lyriq rear end. It looks weird. And they're doing the Lyriq rear end on the Celestiq. So
the Lyriq is the midsize SUV, right?
Yes. So it is the midsize. The Celestiq, in my personal opinion, would look so much better as a station wagon.
Oh yeah. I don't think that's a wild take, but I will say, having seen it in person, it genuinely has a good presence to it.
It's like seeing a Rolls-Royce Phantom rolling down the road.
A presence which I don't necessarily know that the wagon body style has ever really been able to pull off.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because honestly, like, none of the cars that have a lot of presence, Phantom comes to mind. That's one of the cars with the most presence. None of them really come to mind other than, for example, the Escalade. But that's an SUV. That's not a wagon.
Right.
It's sad because wagons are cool. They're really cool. I would love to see what the Celestiq design language would look like as a wagon, because the proportions of it look like they're kind of trying to be a wagon, but from the side profile, the thing looks like a Magnum.
Yeah, sort of.
The way that the roof drops off in the back looks like a Dodge Magnum.
I think the main reason that wagon is not the typical body style of the ultra high class sedan is because if you have luggage, you have someone else in some other vehicle taking that for you.
Yeah. You have, yeah, they get shipped separately in their own Celestiq or whatever. No,
Right.
It'd end up being like a CT6.
It's basically its own thing.
Yeah.
So
The Celestiq is not so much a car, but more an art piece, because Cadillac is pushing the Burger King method.
have it your way.
Have it your way. They are touting that they have basically infinite customization options. If you really wanted to, you could mix lime green, orange, and purple in the interior. If you wanted to.
Sounds like Porsche.
And, well, yeah. So, the thing about the Celestiq is it's not something you will ever see just sitting at a dealership.
Yeah.
For one, it's estimated to be $350,000+.
That's starting.
Starting price is $350,000 for a Cadillac.
That is more than a Lucid Air Sapphire.
And it's slower because 3.8 to 60. That's on par, if you don't have any kind of frame of reference, that's on par with like an Audi e-tron GT or I think a base model Taycan, which, for all intents and purposes, are the same car.
But here's the thing about the Celestiq that I think is...
Celestiq. It sounds like a celery stick.
Here's the thing about it, which I think is incredibly important to remember. And this is the sort of thing that was impressed upon me as I looked at those 3 flagship caddies at Detroit. It's that each of those cars, every piece of it is jewelry.
Yes.
It is jewelry. The Lucid is not that.
The Lucid is function and then some form. Whereas the Cadillac is form over function to a point. But there's still a lot of technology in the Cadillac. So it's got air suspension. It's supposed to have GM's latest version of MagnaRide. It's got active body control, active roll control, essentially similar to what Mercedes does, where it leans into the corners, which is weird.
I've heard it's really uncanny.
I've heard the same. It has 4-wheel steering on the Cadillac. So 4-wheel steering, like this thing has the chops to be something that could carve canyons, which that's one of the other points that Cadillac was pushing on their website, which is where I'm getting this information from.
You can evade the police and your taxes.
That's not really what I meant, but they're saying that this is a rolling art piece that can still kick ass if it needs to. And 600 horsepower, 3.8 to 60, it's nothing to sneeze at, but it's a far cry from Lucid, for example. So some of the quick like things that GM is pushing about it, it has 55-inch diagonal dash screen. It's literally A pillar all the way to A pillar, and it's one curved screen. It's not like the Escalade where it has a screen and then a nesting doll of a screen.
Yeah.
So it's got that and then 4 other screens in the vehicle, which as far as I know, there's one on the back of each seat. There's one in the center, like my box style. So it's got the one in the center. I don't know where the last one is. I wasn't able to locate it. It has...
It's a scavenger hunt.
It's a scavenger hunt. You got to find the last screen. So it has, whatever this means, a 4-zone microclimate control.
I don't know what microclimate means, but I know what 4-zone is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, if it actually works properly like GM is saying it should, GM/Cadillac, we'll just put that there, that would be really cool, because I've ridden in vehicles that have 4-zone climate control, and you inevitably feel the air from whichever side is next to you. Even dual zone is that way, but it still gives an option, like your passenger's a little colder than you or whatever. But I'm curious to see what a microclimate is. It probably does some weird things with the heated seat and cooled seat and whatever. The other weird thing is a smart sunroof. It's a fixed panoramic glass roof, but it's smart.
Does that mean it's like photochromic?
Supposedly, It's photochromic in 4 zones above each seat.
So you could be like, I wish to see the stars. I must enable the panoramic sunroof specifically on my side. I wish not to bother the driver.
Something like that. Who knows? And like I said, we don't know what that means.
Oh, wait, hang on. That was the wrong accent. This is made by GM.
Yeah, we need to see the stars.
I want to see the stars.
How long do you think until some redneck gets a hold of it and LS swaps it?
A long ass time.
Imagine depreciation on this thing. Everyone's going to be unique.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see that because like there's different specs, but then again, you also see some truly heinous specs of 911s.
Oh god, yeah.
And they don't really lose.
Some of the purples and the greens that people have been doing recently on the exterior paint, not the interior, like it's purple paint with a saddle brown leather interior. It's just, it's gorgeous.
One thing I wanted to touch on though, on the topic of your redneck swapping an LS, is what better powertrain is there for a luxury car than an EV? Like, seriously.
Yeah, seriously. You get rid of the engine vibrations. You have more passenger compartment space. You have
incredibly smooth power delivery.
You can tune the power delivery. So, let's say you're in your Celestiq and some guy comes up next to you. You just tap the button and it goes from, you floor it and it kind of goes to boof and you're gone. But I highly doubt that Cadillac's going to do that. I mean, they made the Escalade V, which is $150,000, but that thing's still a rocket ship. They were like, oh, Durango Hellcat.
Another important facet of the whole EV being perfect for these high-end luxury cars thing is if you are rich enough to afford one of these, if you are going any real distance, you are jet setting.
Yes, you are on a plane.
So these are mainly around town cruisers, and so range is not a concern. So seriously, there is no class of car that is better suited to EV than high luxury. I have high hopes for the Celestiq.
I think it's going to be... I will be shocked if I actually see one on the road. Because, for one, you have to reach out to Cadillac. You have to... There's a direct phone number to call for the Celestiq. And you're like, hey, I'm an oil magnet. I want one. Or tech magnet, more likely in this day and age. Yeah, no, they're crazy. And I can't wait to actually, like, have some hands-on time with one. You know, Cars and Coffee or whatever, and sit in one and actually see if it's what they're claiming it is.
Yeah, I obviously didn't get to sit in the one that was there, but looking at it, all of the bits made serious impressions.
23-inch wheels.
23-inch wheels.
Like, that's huge. And speaking of threes, I completely forgot to mention, it has 300 miles of range. 300 miles out of... Yeah, it's got to be... My prediction is it's, like, just shy of 5,000 pounds.
I suspect...
It's also the lowest coefficient of drag of any Cadillac.
I suspect it is more... weight than that.
7,000 pound sedan.
I don't know that I would go that far.
No, because we can ascertain that it's not going to be hyper heavy like an EV9 or C63
Hummer EV,
because 600 horsepower plus 3.8 to 60
yeah.
equals probably maybe a little over 5,000, nearing 6,000, probably between 5,000 and 6,000 pounds. That's my guess, actually. Cause
5 and 6, I would lean more towards the side of 6, because you have to remember
everything's hand built.
The Lucid Air Sapphire, it weighs I think 53, and
nuts.
That thing is E-Class size.
Right.
This
dense.
The Celestiq is S-Class size.
Well, that's kind of the thing that's really cool about GM's electric battery tech. The Ultium is what it's called. ULTIUM.
It's like a structural member, right?
Yes, their battery is a structural member, and it's actually, the battery itself is surprisingly light. I don't remember off the top of my head what the kilowatt hour rating on it is, I want to say it's like in the 70s or so. But I'm honestly not sure. I'm not going to actually try and guess. But that Ultium tech that is under the Celestiq and the Lyriq is also going under a new Cadillac model coming out in 2025. Yet another EV. The Escalade IQ.
Yeah, so looking at it on his screen when I walked in here was the first I had heard of this.
Yes. So, this one is quite different from the Celestiq because it's projected to have, when in burst mode, 750 horsepower.
Is that more or less than Escalade V?
I think it's on par. I'm pretty sure it's on par, but I have a feeling Escalade V is going to be faster in a quarter mile because of the nature of electrics. You get that extremely hard hit 0 to 60, and then it starts to fall off a little bit. And not so much on Lucid or Plaid, but with lower end EVs, specifically like Model 3, what the heck, Ioniq 5, I almost couldn't remember the name of that. Bolt, all of those, you get a really hard hit and then it almost immediately falls on its face.
Sure.
So I have a feeling they're going to do tuning on this similar to Plaid and Sapphire and whatnot, because it's a big SUV.
A little slight physics deep dive on the way that works is torque is actually the measure of change in angular momentum.
Yes.
So the reason that the torque drops off on electric vehicles is because they can do the maximum amount of change, which is basically the
0 to something.
Yeah, it's basically the axle moving from one pole of the magnet to another pole of the magnet.
Right.
And the faster it's going, the less change in that angular momentum it can manage, because it's already basically done all of it. Whereas on a internal combustion engine vehicle, they use gearing in order to change the band at which it can produce.
Right, so it's and it gets the next surge in between gears, basically.
Right.
My truck is very much known for that. Falling on its face when it shifts. That's not something you have to worry about with the fancy Cadillac Escalade IQ. So it's got, they're touting executive rear seating.
Executive?
Yes. So they're not captain's chairs. They're Maybach style chairs.
Okay, so we're talking like
There's
Lazy
no
Boy.
split in the middle. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no split in the middle. There's a big ass console that runs up to the front.
Yeah, so we're talking like Lazy Boy, full recliners,
everything.
probably massaging,
Everything.
possibly champagne.
I would not surprise me, because executive seating, one of the hallmarks of executive seating from Maybach, from S-Class, from Rolls-Royce, from Bentley, all of these legacy luxury manufacturers, is having a fridge in between the seats.
Yeah.
That's something, except I think the 57S had it down in the center.
Even in that, the new Lincoln Continental.
Yes.
Which no longer exists.
I like those.
They're
I actually really like those. The only sad point is front-wheel drive based.
Yeah.
Sad. If that was rear-wheel drive based, I would get one and Coyote swap it.
Still long wheelbase, suicide doors. Very,
Sick.
very cool cars. No one cared.
No, actually, so the suicide doors, I believe, were an option.
Yeah. It was like a coach
Nobody
build.
got the freaking suicide doors.
Yeah.
I never see suicide Continentals. I think I've seen one in my lifetime. But what I really like about those is the door handles being in the belt line.
Oh, yeah.
They blend in quite nicely unless you're in a semi like I am every day and you're looking down at them. But if you're looking at it from the side, there's no door handles.
I think that story of the Lincoln Continental basically being a pretty cool but flawed vehicle is really sort of the line which Cadillac needs to toe here.
Yes.
It's because the Escalade...
it has so much presence that if they get this wrong, it's going to be a problem.
But if they get it right...
If they get it right, which I personally don't think that the IQ looks like an Escalade. Because it's doing the Celestiq thing in the back. See, there I go. Celestiq thing in the back.
What can you say? The name Celestiq.
God damn it. No, so they're doing the Celestiq thing in the back, and then the front end, what is the Escalade known for? A big ass grill and a get out of my way look.
Sure.
Like the new Escalade has that in spades. It literally looks like I will eat you.
Yeah, the Escalade V. It's one
such
of those.
A beast.
It's one of those vehicles that if you look at it in a picture, you're like, yeah, that looks pretty mean, and you stand in front of it and you're like, it's how big?
Yeah. It's because they made the front end taller.
Oh yeah.
It was a combination. I think they raised the hood by like an inch and a half or something, but they dropped the bottom of it. So it's very much a wall coming at you.
A wall is not exactly good for aero, which is why I suspect EV, they needed to change things.
Well, it's still the front end. They have a big grill, kind of similar to the Celestiq, but the headlight shape, the grill shape, the overall front end design of the IQ just doesn't look like an Escalade. But inside, it's still got all the amenities and stuff of an Escalade. It has the same dash screen as the Celestiq. That same 55-inch freaking pillar-to-pillar screen. It's got 24-inch wheels from the factory. The biggest on any Cadillac Escalade ever from the factory. It has an E-trunk, which I'm going to call from here on out an E-frunk because it's funnier. But Cadillac is calling it the E-trunk. And apparently, because of the lack of internal combustion engine in there, as Cadillac says, you can fit multiple carry-ons in it. It's an actual big, usable trunk, which...
We're talking front trunk.
Yes, frunk. So that would make sense considering the size of the damn thing.
Okay, so here's the thing that I think is criminally misunderstood about front trunks. So many automakers say that front trunks are not necessary and not commonly used by people who own the vehicle. The thing there is...
Tesla says that the most.
There are some... also Hyundai.
Yes.
And especially Mercedes.
Oh, God.
EQS, there is
so
nothing
bad.
up there.
The egg car.
So the thing about that is they are perfect specifically for if there's something you don't want to not have in your car.
Yes.
So a front trunk would be perfect for like first aid kit.
Charging cable.
Charging cable is a good one. Think about
roadside repair kit of some form. Like what they're doing in modern cars nowadays. A can of Fix-A-Flat.
Maybe you need a safety blanket. You need some
for when the battery runs out and you're stranded on the side of the road in Nebraska on I-80 because there's no charging stations and it's suddenly negative 12 degrees. That's one of my fears if I ever get an electric car is not... I would have serious range anxiety all the time. I don't care if it's a Lucid and it's got 510 miles of range. But by the way, the Escalade's miles, 450.
That's not bad.
Yes, they're claiming a 450 mile range, and it's again Ultium battery pack. But because it is a bigger vehicle, they have more space for batteries, which means the Escalade's gonna weigh more than the Celestiq, which doesn't really surprise me. But we might see a 7,000 pound EV, 7,000+ pound, because it's an Escalade. Most people's idea of opulence is an Escalade. That's what you think. You think luxury car. What comes to your mind when you think luxury car?
When I think luxury car, I think S-Class.
Okay, fair enough. I set the bar too low. That's fair. But for most non-car people, it's gonna be and Mercedes. Doesn't matter what. It could be an ML.
I got a GLC.
I've got an ML35.
I got an A-Class.
Why don't we have the A45 AMG Mercedes? Anyways,
You know exactly why. It's because of people like you.
What's that supposed to mean?
You know what it means.
Do I?
Yes. Carrying on.
We're gonna say I do. Yeah, so the Escalade and the... I told you that would happen. The Escalade and the Celestiq are Cadillac's... It's almost worth it to just put the damn thing upside down. This is entertaining to watch.
Should be fine.
The STI's upside down. Anyways. So, the Celestiq and the Lyriq and the Escalade IQ are Cadillac's first 3 EVs, and I think that they're doing the right thing because, like you said, electric car, good for luxury. So, we'll see how it plays out. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on both the Celestiq and the Escalade as people will actually configure the Celestiq. It'll be interesting to see what kind of combinations come out. But,
And also the Lyriq is there.
and also Lyriq. I think the Lyriq's proportions don't look right compared to the Celestiq. Like, it almost works on the Celestiq with the weird split lights and everything, but the Lyriq just looks weird. It's just a weird looking thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that's entirely unwarranted. So, I want to talk about something more traditional.
How traditional?
Very traditional. Toyota pickup trucks.
Yes!
So earlier
I'm excited for this.
this week launched the absolutely legendary Toyota Tacoma. And this in particular is the new update to the Toyota Tacoma.
A full ground-up refresh.
Full ground-up redesign. The old outgoing...
Not refresh.
The old outgoing Taco, as it's commonly known, was
Best name.
sort of an update of an update of an update. It was really starting to show its age.
It was old. It was very old. Halogens.
Yeah, so so the biggest news for the new Tacoma is death to the multiple cylinder banks. Goodbye V6.
Yes.
So out goes the old naturally aspirated V6, and
Do you think it was a 4-liter?
maybe. Yeah, actually,
Big.
that sounds right to me.
It was a big V6, so it was very torquey, which people loved about the old Tacoma.
Sure.
And they've replaced it with
A Turbo 4, a 2.4 liter turbo iForce in particular, which makes some pretty good numbers. It makes 278 horsepower and 317 pound-feet.
I've heard that there's varying levels of tune on it.
Yeah.
Like there's I think it starts the very base model one, which extended cab, sick.
Yeah, so what he means by that is the Taco is still available in 2 and 4 doors.
Which is sick. But I think that the very base model one I think it's got like 230 horsepower or something like that.
Yeah, it's detuned by I think 58, so yeah, pretty close to that.
But something else that's available that is standard on base model ones,
Manual transmission.
manual transmission.
Yes.
With rev matching.
Yeah, so the manual transmission in the new Tacoma it's long throw and
It's truck.
it's truck. And it not only is it long throw, they have also had to engineer in rev hang for emissions.
Yes.
But it's fine. You know, you're in a truck. You're not trying to slam through the
Yeah,
gears.
you're not in a race car.
With that having been said, and my source for this story was from Motor Trend. They said that driving the Taco in sport mode is wild. Like they pushed the sport mode to car levels.
Really?
Yeah, so it is kind of unsettling to drive in sport mode. Is
Because
basically
it is
the
a
thing.
solid axle, body on frame truck.
Yeah, it is truck top to bottom. So yeah, we got the 6MT and also an 8MT, which according
8MT?
8AT. Not an MT.
World's first 8-speed manual transmission in a road-going vehicle.
Not-
a road-going car.
Not necessarily true. The Aston Martin V8 Vantage had 7 speeds in reverse. That's 8 speeds.
You can count the 911 and the C7 Vet in that as well.
Bronco.
Crawl mode.
Anyways,
Yeah, back to topic.
yeah, so it's an 8-speed automatic, not a manual, and it is evidently a vast improvement over the outgoing 6AT. The
You're really counting your words now.
yeah, I had to make sure I didn't want to mess up again. So
The 8AT is smoother than the 6MT in the outgoing model. Wait a minute.
specifically, Motor Trend focuses on the shift logic, which is, by their words, the old outgoing transmission failed to understand the assignment it was given, which I just love.
Am I a tuna sandwich? Oh no, I'm a gearbox.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Jeremy. So the outgoing truck was obviously very outdated, and there were a lot of compromises in its interior and throughout its suspensions.
It was very
setup.
much aging.
So
How long did the old generation run for?
I have no idea.
I want to say it was like 2009. I remember them starting to come out.
The answer will be here.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Anyways, the thing that they really changed is because it was a ground up redesign, they were able to change the bolt points for all of the aspects of the vehicle. And so
Right. Cab mounts, suspension mounts.
specifically what they have done is they have made it so that the seat is higher up, so you are no longer sitting on the ground. And they've done it in such a way that while you are not doing that anymore, you are also no longer hitting your head on the ceiling, which is a good combination of
crazy
factors.
if you think about it, because I don't think it's much taller than the old version.
No, but I think there were just things about the old design which had to be done in order to make the truck modern.
Yes.
Whether it was extra
Adding-
sound deadening or
Adding
whatever.
Android Auto to a screen that's this big.
Yeah, and speaking of the technology, it's got all the new bells and whistles. You've got USB-C ports and all that jazz, which
I saw that there's
Pretty cool.
USB-C ports in the bed,
yeah,
which is cool. That's actually really smart. There's that a household outlet, a 12-volt socket.
it has
like,
a power tailgate on certain trims.
higher trims. You just you essentially punch the side of the tail light and it'll drop the tailgate.
Yeah. On the topic of higher trims, the like TRD Pro model will be getting a hybrid version of this Turbo iForce 2.4,
I'm excited for that.
which is going to pack even more punch. And I think the Taco is heading mostly in the right direction. A few other notes that I have here. It also has many different suspensions available.
Old man Emu.
Ranging from leaf springs to coil springs to multi-links to even adaptive dampers on the limited model. So the Taco is an all-you-can-eat buffet of options.
It literally went from old man carrying a cane walking down the road blinking his halogen lights at everybody to, hey guys, I'm in the modern era, what's up?
But notably, it's still a truck. It is still a truck. It is not a Honda Ridgeline.
Yes, it's not a Ridgeline, it's not a Santa Cruz, it's not a Maverick, for example.
It is not a car-based truck. It is still a truck.
It's body on frame, it's got a separate, the cab and the bed are separate entities.
The thing that is most important about the Tacoma is it just needs to be the truck
For everyone.
that the person who doesn't care about clout gets. If you want clout, you get a Ram. If you want to fit in,
A Ram Limited.
If you want to fit in, you get an F-150. If you want a V8 truck, you probably get a GM because you like
Bison.
LS. Yes, a Bison.
Which we did find out it's 02 Bison.
Yeah, I found that really funny.
That makes no sense.
So with all of that having been said, as I'm sure you knew was coming, the price went up. It rose about $4,500.
Base model to base model?
Yes. Base model up to $33K is the new starting price with delivery.
That's not too bad. 35K isn't the worst. I mean, it's a truck.
33
or 33K. My apologies. Yeah. So you're actually getting a lot of vehicle for that price because
that is true.
If you look at the sizes, the modern compact truck is the half ton from back in the day.
Yeah.
Like my Sierra, I was next to a Chevy Colorado and the damn thing was the same size as my truck. The Colorado is supposed to be this big and it's not.
So I want to take this opportunity to talk some pros and cons in terms of powertrain. So one huge advantage to a turbo powertrain is that turbos love load.
And turbos love to make noise.
Yes, turbos go whoosh. One thing that's really interesting is turbos can create more torque throughout the rev line. So,
rev line?
That's not the way that works. Rev range. That's the word I was looking for.
I kind of stopped. Wait a minute. Something's not right here.
So yeah, they can basically. It's about area under the curve. It's not necessarily.
Yeah, it's not peak power all the time. It's what's usable.
Exactly. And so the Motor Trend guys noted, they were like, on paper, the output of this new turbo engine is only marginally higher than that of the V6, but in practice it's a huge difference. And the reason for that is because with turbos there's so much variability. You can make the power delivery extremely linear.
Yeah, because you have the wastegate. You can bleed off boost as needed.
And this is
bleeding off horsepower.
And this is the exact reason that everyone always says BMWs are underrating their power. It's just because turbo is area under the curve.
8 Series comp.
So
actually 1,000 horsepower.
With that having been said, there is something to be said for an old naturally aspirated powertrain. Big understressed engines have been known to last forever. And now is the part where I talk about something else that is lasting forever. So this is a tale of two Toyotas.
Oh shit. What? I didn't know about this.
So,
I didn't put this in my plans. We're in uncharted territory.
So back in 1984, the 70 series Toyota Land Cruiser went on sale. The Land Cruiser, for those who may not know, is Toyota's famous overland vehicle. It's sort of like their answer to the Jeep. It was created as basically...
Or the original G-Wagon.
Yeah, it's created basically as a military vehicle. And so it is...
It's legendary.
It is basically body-on-frame truck, but made for off-roading. Yeah.
That's what the FJ40, when it came out, was trying to emulate.
So the 70 series Land Cruiser, which you may know, it's the sort of famous boxy one with the circle headlights.
Yeah.
It was originally made from 84 until 2004, and it was briefly resurrected for one model year in 2014.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And
I didn't know this.
And now it is back again with a facelift.
Is it the same 2014 one that they just facelifted?
Tacoma? I don't know the specific lineage of this one, but what I do know is that it is back for the 2024 model year.
In the US?
No. So in Japan,
Toyota.
In Japan, Australia, and the United Arab Emirates, Toyota has released the 70 series Land Cruiser yet again. So it has been updated for modern audiences and has hill start assist, downhill assist.
Wait, hill start assist. Does that mean it's a manual?
It has manuals.
Hell yes.
It gets better. So it has a ladder frame still has electrically locking diffs. And so Japan specifically gets the 6-door turbo diesel, which is a 2.8 liter turbo diesel.
Six door?
6-door.
Is that 2 on each side and then split barn door in the back?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to... I was thinking like some kind of conglomeration of a Veloster with a 3 on one side, 2 on the other, one in the back. Like
not quite. So the Aussies get the V8 diesel with the manual.
There's a V8 diesel? What?
V8 diesel, 4.6 liter diesel V8.
Toyota, why are you holding out on us?
The United Arab Emirates get the 4-liter naturally aspirated V6 from the Taco.
So it's not dead.
And here's the best part. They kept the fender mirrors.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the 6-door one has the fender mirrors, and even better, in the UAE and Australia, they're also selling the 3-door version. And also the pickup version.
Wait, in Australia, can you get a 3-door V8?
Yes. Yes,
That's
you can.
sick. That is really sick.
3-door diesel V8 manual 70 series Land Cruiser with Apple CarPlay.
Boof. My mind has been blown. That's so cool.
So the Japanese 6-door version is the equivalent in yen of about $32,500.
Taco price.
Yeah. So it's
you could get a Tacoma, or you could wait 25 years.
so it's really, it's not all that expensive. But here, this is what it looks like. That is the 6-door version.
Wow, that is crazy retro looking. That is so cool.
Isn't that great?
With the vents on the side and everything, it literally looks like they pulled it.
This is the 3-door.
It looks like a Mitsubishi Pajero.
More 3-door. And this is the pickup.
Headlights.
Yeah, it's got like sort of cogs in there almost.
That is not a pickup. That is a ute. And the thing on the back is
sorta.
a tray. It is not a bed.
Irrespective, this thing is freaking awesome.
It is.
And in 25 years, I want one so bad.
Yes. Import. I would want a ute, personally.
You would want the diesel V8.
Ute V8 manual, like, that would be so cool.
Yeah, so there you go. That's a tale of two Toyotas. Over here, they're putting people in one of the greatest vehicles that has ever been made, the Toyota Tacoma, and making it better and better and better. And overseas, they are showing how powerful their heritage is by going back to one of their most iconic vehicles and bringing it back with minimal changes, and it is still competitive to this day.
That's crazy. I actually didn't expect that.
Yeah,
Like,
really cool,
actually,
right?
Yeah, that is.
So I guess what we can now do is talk about something
Else off-roady.
Yeah.
So, Subaru, because I have to get a Subaru story in when there's actually news. The new Crosstrek Wilderness has been announced and soft released, essentially.
I've seen one.
Yeah,
There was one at Meyer.
it was a weird launch because there wasn't like, hey guys, check it out, a new Wilderness model. It was like, there's a new Wilderness, and that was it. Like, Subaru didn't like go crazy like they did when the Outback Wilderness came out. The Forester Wilderness was a little quieter than that, and then the Crosstrek was just swept under the table. Like, but there's actually some really cool things about the new Crosstrek Wilderness. So, from the factory, it has a 0.9 inch lift kit.
Ooh.
Almost an inch. So, congratulations, Subaru. You're almost on par with some guy in a shed, and he has some plastic that he can wedge into his struts. It's a really common thing that people do to lift Subarus. The price starts at $33,390 for a Crosstrek Wilderness.
So about the price of a 6-door 70 series.
Or a base model Tacoma.
This is the price we're talking about today.
Like, it really is, right? It's right in the 30s range. So, it is cheaper than the Cherokee Trailhawk and the Bronco Sport Badlands, and more capable. Because, one...
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Bronco Sport...
It's a
rebodied Edge? Is that right?
No, I think it's a new platform. It's shared. The platform is shared with the Maverick, as far as I know.
Oh, so I think that was the same platform as Fiesta? No, Focus. I think.
Cars? It's a crossover platform.
No, the Maverick I thought was based on a car platform.
I don't know. I don't know Fords.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, back to the topic at hand. Cheaper than Trackhawk. Of course it's cheaper than a Trackhawk.
I would hope so.
Cheaper than a Cherokee Trailhawk and a Bronco Sport Badlands, and it is more capable because it has that 0.9 inch lift. It's got Yokohama Geolander AT tires from the factory, so a pretty good off-roading tire. It's got factory skid plates all over the bottom of it. And it's got a 4.11 final drive which is a shorter final drive than the 3.7 final drive on the standard Crosstrek, which I'm upset because that's the final drive that my Outback is, 4.11. But this actually has a CVT, so it can drive on the highway. But either way, that shorter final drive actually hurts fuel economy. It drops 2 miles per gallon to a combined rating of 27.
That's not bad still.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And you know why? It only makes 182 horsepower.
Yeah, that's always been the problem with the Crosstrek.
Crosstrek, Forester, all of them.
The Crosstrek in particular, I have felt, has always been, here's the Legacy. It's a sedan. Here is the Forester. It's got a turbo available. And here's
Did
the
you say Forester?
Yeah. I'm talking about, like, when the Crosstrek debuted.
Oh, I was going to say, a new Forester. There ain't no turbo. It's the same engine as Crosstrek.
Yeah, but when the Crosstrek debuted, it was like, here's the Crosstrek. It has, like, 170 horsepower.
No, it was less than that. It was like 130. Because it was a 2-liter.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was...
Okay. So we're talking, like, Prius speed.
They took the engine out of the BRZ, took all of the things that made it at least make 200 horsepower that Toyota put onto it, and slapped it in the Impreza, put a lift kit on it, and called it good. Because they are the same car. For all intents and purposes, a Crosstrek and an Impreza are the same thing. But then again, all Subarus nowadays are the same thing because they're all on the Subaru Global platform.
Except the BRZ.
Except the BRZ. So, do you want to hear the most insane thing?
Always.
The standard Crosstrek, limited touring, whatever you get, tow rating is 1,500 pounds, right?
That's not terrible.
The Wilderness is 3,500 pounds tow rating with 182 horsepower. Do you know why they upped the tow rating? Do you have any clue? They're very simple things that you can theoretically do to your standard Crosstrek and then tow a car.
I genuinely don't know.
So, it's got a bigger oil cooler and a more powerful radiator fan.
Yeah.
And they added an entire ton to the tow rating. That, I guess, combined with the shorter final drive, but...
I bet there are some hills which would be extremely unfun.
That would be terrifying. I'm moving across the country. I have an 8x11 U-Haul trailer behind my Crosstrek. Oh, look, Utah. Anyways... So yeah, it's those couple of little things. They beefed up the roof rack, so it can actually support a rooftop tent now. They really couldn't on the old ones. You weren't supposed to do it. I think it was like a 200-pound rating on the roof.
That way you can get off the ground and not have to worry about scorpions.
Yes. So it's 700 pounds now that you can put on the roof of the Crosstrek Wilderness. So for some reason... No turbo.
700 pounds. Is that more or less than the 911 Dakar?
I'm not sure.
I think it's less.
Oh.
Yeah. How about that?
Such a stupid gag. So yeah, it's the FB25, which most Subaru models have some option for the FB25. It's a venerable engine. It came out in 2011 in the Forester, and it is a 2.5-liter flat four.
Supplanting the EJ.
Supplanting the EJ, exactly. So, the easiest way to tell those two Subaru engines apart, that's an EJ piston. I broke it. So, the easiest way to tell an EJ apart from an FB. Do you know what it would be? Grandpa's old Forester. It was easy to tell versus any of my cars.
I don't know.
They have timing chains.
That would have been my guess if you put a gun to my head. I was thinking that was a possibility, but
they moved to timing chains. So they moved to timing chains because efficiency. They are trying to get the best fuel economy and the most power, but it's mostly fuel economy out of the same engine. So if you reduce friction and rotating mass and all of these other things, and you put as little stress on the engine as possible. Basically, it makes it more efficient.
It's a bunch of metal and oil gloop is easier to move around than rubber riding around extremely taut on plastic.
Plastic cam gears, metal idler, metal crank pulley, metal water pump. So with my screen turned off. With the FB, it's a timing chain, there's plastic guides, and it's constantly lubricated. Like, there's always oil splashing across it. So the FB is actually a pretty good engine. The newer ones, I believe they have direct injection now, but they didn't swap to the new FA24, the engine in the new WRX, and the Ascent, and the Outback XT.
What's the difference between the FA and the FB?
So FA is a turbo engine.
Oh, that's it? That's the only difference?
No, there's architectural differences and stuff, but it started out as the first engine that was in the new V8 WRX when it came out in like 2015. Not the STI. That still had an EJ up until 2020. It still had an EJ 257. All the way from 2004 to 2020 in the US. Sick. So, and they fixed all of the problems that it had on the final versions of it. Stupid. Typical Subaru as well. It's kind of similar to GM though. With
I was gonna say
the Fiero. We fixed all the suspension things, but you can't buy it anymore.
I suspect that disease probably got transferred when they released the the Chevrolet Forester.
Oh my god! I always forget that exists. It's a foreign market Forester with a Chevy badge on it.
Yeah, so when they were in bed together, they shared the herpes that is causing this problem.
2 of my Outbacks have OnStar, for fuck's sake. OnStar in a Subaru. Like, I'm sorry for the vulgarity, but it is the most bizarre thing to get. You're like, hey, an Outback, cool. Why does it have OnStar? This isn't a Chevrolet. But no, they're from 2004. My Gold Wagon, it's a GM paint color. It's a tri-coat. So GM being in bed with Subaru has done a lot of harm. Specifically, the Saab 96X existing.
Oh, the Subaru?
The Tribeca.
Yeah.
Yeah. 92X, sick. It's an Impreza, but it looks prettier. So, yeah, those are my things on the Crosstrek, though. So, the Forester. the Forester Wilderness. Again, no turbo.
Is this previous gen Forester?
Yes. So they're still offering 2024 Forester is the old body style Forester.
Interesting. I bet that this generation of Wilderness will be kind of looked back on as
the last of the great ones.
Pretty weird.
Really?
I mean, it'll be a short production run.
Yeah, it will be. It's probably be maybe 1-2 years. They might do something odd where like they're producing the new Forester, but if you want the Wilderness, I think Subaru has actually done this before, but if you want the Wilderness, you have to get an older generation, but the other trims are the new generation.
Almost sort of reminds me of the Ram TRX. How that's sort of a short special production run.
So the Forester,
obviously the Forester is nowhere near as interesting as the Ram TRX.
It's still non-turbo. And my most amusing fact about the Wilderness family, this family, is the Forester is the weakest one. Horsepower-wise, torque-wise.
It's the biggest.
I think it's slightly smaller than the new Outbacks, but it is big. So it's got the same engine as the Crosstrek, with 2 less foot-pounds of torque.
Why? How? What did they change?
I don't know. I can't find any information on it.
They left one dwarf out.
It's so funny that the Forester, bigger than the Crosstrek, has less torque. And then the Outback, the one that started the Wilderness family, has a turbo. It's got the FA24 DIT, which is a great engine.
That's the only turbo Wilderness then, right?
Yes, it actually is. But if you go overseas, you can get the Forester with a turbo. You can also, overseas, get the Forester as a hybrid.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get a 70 Series Land Cruiser and a Turbo Forester.
Yeah, like, dude, Subaru, bring the damn hybrid Forester here. It's a no-brainer for the topography of this country. Wide, flat, just expanses of nothing. Hybrid is perfect for that. Like, we've had this conversation in the past where you get a hybrid, you don't get a full electric if you plan on driving across the country a bunch, because hybrids make more sense.
And if you're buying a Wilderness, you don't want to get stranded. Mm-hmm. So it serves a double purpose. You are saving on fuel, and you are also gaining more peace of mind because you're not going to run out of fuel in the middle of the desert or in the middle of a forest.
But, I mean, Subaru's powertrain reliability has been pretty decent. The early models, they had some problems with CVTs, obviously. Not as bad as Nissan, though. But I'm interested to see what the 6th generation Forester Wilderness will look like, as I've taken to call it the fattester.
The fattester.
Because it is huge. I saw one the other day.
I'm partial to Explorester.
Explorester. Those are both good. So yeah, no, I'm intrigued. But Subaru also has been they apparently teased that they're gonna add something else to the Wilderness family. They didn't say what. But are we getting an Ascent Wilderness, a 3-row, 19 cup holder SUV with a lift kit?
Fun for the whole family.
7/8 people in an off-road Forester, you're going to need that lift kit.
In before Baja Wilderness.
Dude, Subaru's missing out on such a damn market that because they're not coming out with the Baja. Like, they're watching like the Santa Cruz and the Maverick to see how they do, but they're already missing out on it.
So you also wanted to say something about the Solterra, right?
Yes. So I would be very, very intrigued to see what a Solterra Wilderness would look like. Like, the Wilderness line has been a huge success for Subaru.
Sure.
Because that's what a lot of people who return to Subarus do. Like, if they do any kind of off-roading, they're already going to modify it. They're already going to put a lift kit on it. They're already going to put tires on it. They're going to put skid plates on it. So Wilderness Series has been a huge hit. It's a soft factory, soft rotor.
Nothing is hotter than off-roaders right now.
TRD Pro, Wilderness, you get
Bronco,
Bison. The Jeep, yeah. So all of these new off-roaders, and not everybody needs the capabilities of a Wrangler or a Bronco or a Bison. So you look at Subaru, you look at Maverick Tremor, for example. Defenders, soft rotors, where...
Well, I wouldn't call a Defender a soft rotor. But...
It's kind of it's a churched up Bronco with a straight 6 and 400 horsepower. But I like the Wilderness series. What is Subaru going to do if they make a Solterra Wilderness? Because it's electric. Could you imagine bouncing over rocks, smacking into your batteries?
The issue is the range.
Range on BZ4X or BZ4X and Solterra is not that good.
I think it's like I think it's like 250 miles if I remember right.
Not that great. Like, it's good for I have to go to work and I live one town over or on the other side of this town. But it's not...
Generally speaking, the electric vehicle architecture, which Toyota was working with there, was clearly behind.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Like, when it released, it was already outdated.
Yeah, because, like, the EV6 absolutely trounced it.
Yeah. Vehicle in the same size class and everything. Everything was running away from it except for, like... I was going to say Nissan Leaf, but... It's not quite the same size class.
Definitely not the same size class.
Leaf is smaller.
Leaf is like a small sedan / hatchback.
Yeah, well, I don't think you can get a sedan in the Leaf. I think you have to get a Versa or a Sentra for that with a CVT, a Nissan CVT. But yeah, the Solterra Wilderness, Ascent Wilderness, Forester Wilderness, Outback Wilderness, Crosstrek Wilderness. Can we get a BRZ Wilderness? Maybe 911 Dakar style.
Return of the Sus.
Dude, another Outback sedan. Legacy
utility
Wilderness?
sedan.
Legacy Wilderness. The Sus.
The Sus. Back.
I tell people that all the time, that Subaru made a Sus, and they go, no, they didn't. Here's a picture.
That's the Sus.
It says Sus right there on the trunk. It's so good, though. I love that. But, yeah, I'm intrigued to see where the Wilderness line goes.
All right. Well, I want to talk about...
Your bombshell that you've been so excited to tell me. I am curious.
Well, Okay, let me just say I prepared a speech. However, it's more of a eulogy. Because
I don't like the sound of that.
On November 10th, an era lasting 25 years, and with lineage going back even further than that, came to an end.
How did we miss this on the last podcast?
I think we recorded it before this happened.
I don't remember. Anyways.
Irrespective, do you have any idea what it was? Did this go out with a whimper, such that you completely did not cross paths with it?
How long was it out?
25 years.
I'm not sure.
On November 10th, 2023, the last ever Audi TT rolled off the assembly line.
Really?
And it made its way onto a truck to go to the Audi Heritage Museum. So the Audi TT, let's talk about it. That was their little roadster.
A squished Beetle.
Yes, it sort of looks like a squished Beetle. The very cool thing about that car was they effectively sat there and were like, what if we made a Mercedes SL, but a little smaller, a little more sporting, and a whole lot more on the cheap?
I would compare it more to the 911. Because, they're all bubble-shaped.
Yeah, okay. In terms of
Beetle,
shape,
TT,
maybe.
911, they're all overgrown freaking Beetles.
The thing that's really interesting is if you think about the landscape of the automotive industry around the time where it was being created, which was early 2000s, late 90s, all of the cars had these bumpers which jut out. So sort of look like underbite. Yeah. And the designer,
like the 964.
Yeah, the designer of the Audi TT, who was the same person who did the contemporaneous Golfs, among others.
Contemporaneous?
Yes, good word right there.
Is that a real word?
Yes, it is.
What's the definition of it?
Yeah, see? Anyways.
Fair enough.
He sought to create a rolling sculpture. He wanted the car to look as though they had taken one big piece of material and they had chiseled out all of the features on it, and that it was all produced into this wonderful rolling sculpture. And the final result is genuinely one of the most beautiful vehicles that was ever made
at the time.
I would say it holds up.
The newer TTs, I like how they look, but the older ones, they're very round.
I love the first gen TT. That's
like what Mom had, that black one.
That's what makes it so special. And they
had a lot of inherent problems with that design.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to go into. So it released, and it was named after the Isle of Man TT motorcycle race.
I did know that.
Which is famous for being incredibly deadly, which turned out to be a bad omen because the TT had this habit of coming unglued while rolling at speed.
It would lift its butt in the air.
It would lift its butt, and thus all of them had to be recalled, and a spoiler had to be added.
Only on some of them, actually. So I was actually talking to Mom not terribly long ago about this.
She used to own one.
Yeah, our mother had a black TT 3.2 Quattro S line, and it was a DSG, which that alone, the tech that went into that back in 2005 was what year hers was, when the 4L60 was still being made. But no, the 3.2s were the ones that got the extended spoiler. So I believe they all got small spoilers.
Yeah, they all got the DuckTales.
But the 3.2s had to have a bigger spoiler because they had a higher speed limit and they were faster. So they needed extra downforce. And if you actually look side by side at the back of a 1.8 versus a 3.2, you can see the little extension lip, which to me is always hilarious because the extension lip always fades more than any other plastic on the car. So it looks completely out of place.
Well, the fun thing about that is that they're actually made of rubber.
Yes.
It's like a rubberized material instead of plastic. It's sort of like if you're familiar with a Porsche 944, it's the same sort of thing. Mm-hmm. You can grab it and kind of like
wiggle,
squish it around. It's pretty weird.
More exotically, 458 canards.
Yes. Same DNA. So the TT was offered with your choice of roadster or coupe body style, front drive or quattro all-wheel drive, or 1.8 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, or 3.2 liter naturally aspirated VR6, which made great noises and greater repair bills.
Horsepower, I believe, on the VR6, because it was a 3.2, so it was big boy.
I believe so, yeah.
Big boy.
And
the repair bills, oh my god. Mom's car was in the shop for an entire day to get an alternator replaced because the entire front end of the car had to come off.
Yes. So ultimately the TT got its second generation, which was a much more chiseled design.
It was very fitting with Audi's design language at the time.
Specifically, what Audi wanted to do was they wanted to have the TT better represent their own heritage rather than Volkswagen AGs as a whole.
Right.
So what they sought to do was, with the introduction of their RS line of vehicles, they wanted to bring in the Audi TT RS, which had the 5-cylinder turbocharged engine.
2.5 liters of fury.
2.1.
Wait, it was 2.1 in the original RS?
2.1 liter. So it was a 2.1 liter straight 5 that made 355 horsepower, 343 pound-feet, and made 0 to 60 in 4.3.
Back in what year?
That was, I think, early 10s. No, it was late aughts, I think.
Like 09, 08, 09.
Yeah, and
that's impressive.
Specifically,
for a car this big.
Specifically, the thing that's so wild about that is that 0 to 60 time outpaced Audi's own spaceship for the road R8 when equipped with the V8. It was faster to 60 than the R8
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I know they upped it from a 2.1 to a 2.5 at some point.
So that thing absolutely road rocket, one of the coolest cars Audi has ever produced.
And then you get the RS3 with the same powertrain. So you get the practicality of a hatchback.
Yeah, but you don't get the sex of the Roadster or coupe.
Dude, TT, I don't think... Could you get a TTRS Roadster?
I don't think so.
I think it was coupe only.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the case. But it was offered with your choice of DSG or manual.
You could get an RS with a manual?
Yeah, the second gen you could get a 5-cylinder all-wheel drive coupe manual. Really cool car.
Huh.
Like
I really thought they were DSG only.
Nope, not in the second gen. So third gen, actually also in the second gen, the TT introduced the world's first diesel sports car.
Wait, what? You can get a diesel in a TT?
They had a turbo diesel.
Pre-Dieselgate.
Yes. They had a turbo diesel Audi TT, which is just excellent.
TDI. That's sick.
So
I want one now.
third gen brought back the diesel, and this time that diesel had more power than the first gen's Turbo 4. So it was pretty potent.
Friggin' beefcake.
Yeah, pretty potent turbo diesel. And the new RS did not, despite the TT getting larger, it got lighter than the previous gen RS.
More use of aluminum, I'm guessing.
And the new RS made 0 to 60 in 3.4. That is absurdly fast.
And it really doesn't take much to make them even faster. You get an intake, a downpipe, a tune, and you're like at 3 seconds basically with the DSG.
So ultimately, though, the thing that killed the Audi TT was the same ailment that afflicts all cars with two doors that don't wear a prancing pony on the front, which is poor sales. Guess how many TTs were sold annually over the course of since 2019?
Annually? It's gotta be less than 50,000.
Less than 900. Less than 900 were sold per year since 2019.
What?
They kept it on the market for 4 years under those conditions. So, genuinely some heroic behavior there.
They were really hoping.
Now, here's the thing that I really want to talk about. The TT was special for a number of reasons, but in my opinion, the biggest thing that made it special was here was a roadster, which could be your one car. If you live in some place that has terrible climate, where it snows, you can have Quattro all-wheel drive.
Haltex Quattro.
Still, you can have Quattro all-wheel drive in a roadster. What other all-wheel drive roadster exists? None. TT was the only one. And so you could have drop-top spirited driving.
At the time, yeah, that was the only one.
You could have drop-top spirited driving in the summer, and when it came to winter, you throw the top up. Who cares? Do some four-wheel drifts. The TT
I know Mom drifted hers.
The TT
and it made good noises.
Was a very cool car, and it will be missed. At least by me, even if it wasn't missed, apparently, by the US sales market. With that having been said, the TT going off the market also marks another important milestone, which is it is the last front-wheel drive coupe on sale in the US. Gone. End of an era.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
No more Civic Coupe. No more Accord Coupe. No more Altima Coupe. No more Eclipse. No more Cobalt. All of them dead.
Neon.
All of them gone.
You could get an old Neon as a coupe.
So there is still one flame for the front-wheel drive coupe still burning somewhere around the world. Do you have any idea what it is? It was available with your choice of 6-speed manual or 7-speed eCVT.
I have no idea. I had something in the back of my head, and then you said eCVT, and that went out the window.
Country of origin, Japan.
Is it a K car?
Yep. It was the Daihatsu Copen.
Oh, yeah!
The Copen is still on the market.
Car.
Yeah, so the Copen looks like...
I didn't know that they were still selling that. I
Yeah.
thought it went on sale like 10 years ago.
Yeah, the Copen is still on sale. And
It's nuts.
And it sort of looks like the answer to the question, what if a mad scientist invented a shrink ray and pointed it at a first-generation Audi TT?
I was going to say an Audi TT from Wish.com, but...
Yeah, it sort of does look like that too. But yeah, the Daihatsu Copen is also known as the Toyota Copen, and it has actually been brought under the GR umbrella. So there are GR Sport versions of the Copen. And another fun Copen fact, did you know this is
blowing my mind repeatedly, dude.
Did you know this is the dumbest thing? The etymology of the name Copen, it is K and open.
K car, open top.
Copen. Genuinely excellent. So,
Brother.
So, as long as the flame of the Copen burns, the front-wheel drive coupe will remain. And there is hope on the horizon, because there also exists the 2026 concept Honda Prelude, which has been confirmed by Honda to be a hybrid, which means there will
not
be
full electric.
which means that there will be a combustion engine in there, and because there is a combustion engine in there, it will almost certainly be front-wheel drive. So if the Copen can survive until 2026, when the Prelude goes on sale, it will not have to die alone.
It's gonna be a K series in that Prelude.
Oh, dude, it could be sick. If they do it right, it could be absolutely sick.
Imagine they do something similar to the CRZ. It's a hybrid manual.
I hope to God they do that. If they did,
it would be cool.
It would be awesome.
That would be a car that you would actually consider buying.
But I want to introduce this topic, because once the Prelude, however long it lasts, goes off sale,
4 years.
I present to you the question: do you think there will ever be an EV front drive coupe? Because when you think about it, there are 4 advantages to having a front drive car. Do you know what the 4 advantages are? At least as far as ICE goes.
No transmission tunnel.
So we'll call that packaging.
Yeah.
You keep all of the powertrain components front of the passenger compartment.
Other than batteries, but
well, right now we're talking about ICE.
Oh, ICE, yeah. So
yeah,
your whole powertrain is in front of the passenger compartment, so your packaging is simpler. Manufacturing is a lot simpler because you just go bonk and put 4 bolts in.
Right. So I'm going to put that under the umbrella of it's less costly.
Yeah, it's less costly, it's easier packaging, more interior space, and if you're a psychopath, criminal understeer.
Okay, so
it's rich coming from a Subaru guy.
So I'm going to sort of streamline your options there. So better packaging, the ease of manufacture. It is also fuel efficiency, because the output shaft of
it's only a CV axle.
Yeah, so it's
not drive shaft.
There's no parasitic losses from 90-degree turns. The crankshaft spins parallel to the direction the wheels are spinning, which has
technically there are 2 90-degree turns, but
has a fuel efficiency advantage.
It does.
Is the point.
That's why the original Mini did it and shared the engine oil with the transmission oil.
And the final benefit, which does carry over to EVs, is that they are basically idiot-proof. Because it's really hard to spin a front-drive car.
It's unless you're doing wet out.
Unless you're doing something horribly wrong or on purpose.
You can have bald rear tires and go around a corner and it'll...
Sure. But all things being equal, it is
McDonald's trays under the rear tires.
It is extremely difficult to spin a front drive car. So that is the one of those 4 advantages which exists for electric vehicles.
My last point still stands: criminal understeer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was why I was like, you basically got it.
More or less.
So the only one you really didn't get was the fuel efficiency. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make here is that if an automaker goes to all the work of making a car that has this sexy coupe body, are they likely to give it front drive? I don't think so, because these cars have already proven themselves, like with the Audi TT, to be extremely slow sellers.
Yes.
And if you make it front drive, you are risking eliminating the group of people who are most likely to buy it, which is enthusiasts.
You know what I think is going to happen? I think that it's going to be a similar setup to the Dodge Hornet RT, where it's got an ICE engine powering the front wheels and an electric motor on the back axle.
Could be.
That seems like the most logical step forward for making a front-wheel drive platform. But just imagine engines in the back, electric motor in the front.
But that's the thing. Front drive, coupe, not going to be 2 parts of the Venn diagram anymore.
Speaking of front drive coupe, We spent way too much time in yours.
Yeah. So now,
segueing to our personal car section.
yeah, so he and I spent about 34 hours together in my '08 Accord Coupe on our way down to South Carolina to visit our mother for Thanksgiving.
That thing, it eats highway miles.
It really does.
Like, we got into Kentucky and I'm like, what the hell happened to all of Indiana and Ohio?
There are a few moments in there as well where it was like, here is an annoying car, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just, you're sitting in sixth, you're cruising at like 80,
3,000 RPM.
you plant it, and the car is just like, okay, 3.5 liter V6 just goes burr, and it leaves things behind.
And we also did go through a tunnel while I was driving.
2 tunnels.
Yeah, while I was driving, we went to 2 tunnels, and his car's very quiet.
Yeah.
It needs an axle back. This is what it sounds like.
Hey Darren, it's a tunnel.
Sick.
I can't tell what gear that is. That's 4th gear. That was basically redline. I saw the tack there. Yeah. So, ultimately, that could definitely be improved.
Yeah,
I
think a nice intake so you can hear the VTEC kick, and a nice axle back. You leave the cats, leave the resonator, just have really nice free-flowing mufflers in the back. That thing would sound good.
But we also had the chance to hustle it around some corners while we were down there.
I was riding with Mom.
Yeah.
So you were the one driving. How was that? Because you never actually told me.
So the particular corners which we were going through, we were driving up to Caesar's Head in South Carolina, which is the highest point there, and there were a bunch of squiggles. My absolute favorite corner was the one. It was a hairpin right-hander that was going up onto the grade, and
Mom was freaking out because she thought I was going to rear end the Tahoe.
So
driving her Fiat.
When I took that corner, I saw that coming up on the map, and I was like, "Oh man!" And so I like shifted down into second, and then I just I floored it, and then I let off for the liftoff oversteer that would produce, and I just cranked into that, and the body rolled, and then it just grabbed, and I was like, "Holy!"
Dude, I so want to take you with me next time I take Two-Face on the Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Those 2 cars on the Tail of the Dragon chasing one another would be sick. I just need to figure out how not to get completely car sick.
So the fuel economy, I actually have I actually have not calculated what the total fuel economy I got was. Oh yeah, that's actually worse than I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean 3,000 RPM, where there were a lot of.
You were also driving for a good portion of it.
I drove quite a lot, but
specifically because he got violently ill.
Violently, to the point where I had him pull over because I thought I was going to throw up.
And we've tried everything for his motion sickness. We tried some patches. We tried
you put
Dramamine,
a patch back
whatever.
here. Yeah, it just doesn't work for me, and I've been this way ever since I got my driver's license, and it sucks because I wish I could ride with people. Before I got my driver's license, I had no problem riding with Mom and Dad going to a restaurant or what have you. Now I ride with somebody and it's just it manifests itself first as a headache, like a motion headache, and then it progressively gets worse. But luckily on the way back I managed to catch some Z's, and I think I know why. I was exhausted.
I'm not at all surprised. Yeah,
so
it was a lot. We went to a Cars and Coffee earlier that day. What was your pick of the day for favorite car that was there?
Oh, probably that white. I think it was a 964 turbo.
Yeah,
That thing was gorgeous, and it was a 5-speed car. I don't know if you saw that. It was a
Wait.
G50.
964
I think
turbo.
it was a 964.
If it was that era, I think it would have been a 930. It
was
turbo.
an 80. It was like a mid to late 80s 911.
I don't know. I mean, you find it in the Facebook pictures.
Well, it's right here.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So yeah, that thing. It was a 5-speed G50 car, and it was also a 911 turbo. And I saw that thing, and I was just, I want a 911 very badly. I wouldn't mind getting a 993 though.
My pick personally, Mercury Marauder.
You were all about that Marauder, man.
I think
You were all over that thing.
I think that car is so cool. It's got to be one of the most underrated American muscle cars ever made.
Straight up, boat goes racing.
It's yeah, one of my favorite tropes.
4-valve, dude.
One of my favorite tropes in American automotive culture is here is a gigantic thing. Let's throw engine at it and call it a day.
DRX. Hellcat Durango.
Raptor R.
Like, it's...
Escalade V.
Escalade V. That's a very good example. Escalade ESV V. Is it a thing? Long wheelbase Escalade V?
I have no idea.
That would be cool.
Huh. How about that? Anyway.
See, I didn't see that one happen. He must have seen it come in over my head or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, personally, Marauder was my choice, although close second to that beautiful Delta Integrale.
Oh, man. I forgot about the Delta. I think it might be a tie between the Delta. I have a couple of pictures of it.
It was sick. Dude rolled up with
5 people.
Yeah, with the full family in the car. It was great.
Like him, it was like him, his brother, and 3 kids in the back, and he's just out driving an Integrale, and one of my buddies is actually friends with him, the guy who owns the Integrale, and he's got a couple of really cool cars. One of them, I don't know what the hell this is.
Yeah, it's like an open wheel.
Yeah, this,
something.
I don't know what it is. Hopefully somebody can comment and tell us what it is, but I don't know.
Maybe it's a Daihatsu Copen.
With a body kit.
But in other news, you made some modifications to Two-Face, didn't you?
Yes. So, I hadn't mentioned it in the last episode, but I gained possession of some headlights that were modified like in the mid-2000s. So they have CCFL halos. They are basically the same technology that are in the twisty light bulbs, but in a halo. So they're not LEDs. They have this really gorgeous, just smooth light all the way around. And I had to order new ballasts for them for the halos, and also the headlights were already HID converted. Which, by the way, after we do this, we got to go out there. I got to show you them in person because they look amazing. So I got it all wired in through a single 6-pin Deutsch connector on each side. And here's a picture of the Deutsch connector. You can see on the car side, it's very neat. There's 6 wires going in. On the headlight side, there's 6 wires coming out into an absolute rat's nest. It is a disaster of wire management, and I might have you help me with trying to make it look decent. But the problem is you have this ballast that is about yay big for the headlight, and then
They can't see that.
it's about that big. So, and then you have a box about yay big for the ballast for the halos. So having those 2 boxes alone and the required harnesses that go along with those boxes means you don't really have places to put anything. So I kind of just shoved it down behind the bumper and wedged the headlight in place. It looks really good with the hood shut. You can't see it. Although on the passenger side, I didn't do that. It's kind of sitting where the turbo's going to live eventually. And I was like, well, I ain't got no other option. So I took a big ass zip tie around the entire harness. It just went, and there's just this bundle sitting behind the passenger headlight.
Oh God.
It's a bit of a disaster, but it works. They look really good, and I have them hooked up to the running lights. So the switch on top of the steering column works. You just go clack, and then the halos come on. And you don't have to have the key in the ignition or anything for that. It just works. So I've got my orange corner lights and then the halos, and it's a really nice look with the white of the halos and the orange of the light next to it. It just looks amazing. And then for the bulbs, I mean, your HIDs, they're cool. They're nice and bright. They're clean white. And then the high beams are bright yellow. So very like
JDM.
Japanese.
Yeah, very JDM.
And these are actual genuine JDM lights that were on some hot boy car in Japan.
What do you think the reason for that is? Is it
For
because
the yellow?
Yeah.
It's fog.
Yeah. Interesting.
100% it's the fog over there because Japan is a very foggy place.
So in Japan, you think it's normal to flip on your high beams when it's foggy out?
For something like that, it would not surprise me.
Interesting, because obviously if you did that in most cars here, you would get flashbang.
Yeah. That's why you have fog lights. My fog lights are just lights from Tractor Supply that are meant to be mounted on a John Deere, but they work. The light is this far off the ground, so driving along, any kind of undulation in the road looks like a speed bump.
You're basically driving a John Doubtback, so it's whatever.
That was so bad. That was horrible. On that note, I think we're going to end it. He's killed the podcast, basically.
True. It's dead.
It's dead, Jim. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
And don't stop driving. So you can just, like, freeball it off the cuff, and I'll do my part.
Cadillac's move up market.
I'm gonna kill you. Actually gonna kill you. I have to try to set this up back again.
Oh no!
So the continuity isn't broken. That way they don't know that.
It's just gonna go. This is lower. I've drank out of it, so I'm gonna gain tea as you go into the podcast. Celestiq. Bit of a clunky name there. Today we have a couple of good topics for you. We have I forgot how I wanted to word it. We have the nothing. Today we have a couple of topics for you from the... Yeah, why do I keep saying the... Cadillac's leap into the luxury EV market, as well as the Subaru Wildernesses.
And the... God damn it!
No. I was ready! Today we got a couple of topics for you coming from Cadillac's... Coming from? Where did that come from?
Coming from... Also, couple of topics. There are 4 topics.
A few. Today we have great topics for you from Cadillac's leap into the luxury EV market and the Subaru Wildernesses, as well as...
The Toyota... God... Dang it!
Mine was so good!
I was ready for it again. I knew exactly what I was
doing.
going
Do we
to
need to put a script up here for you?
No, I got this.
You didn't give it enough RPM. Alright, stop recording now?
Sure.